my fourth episode on product lessons, and the series is called My Journey to My First $1 Million. For those of you who are new to this series, I'm doing this to just document my journey, my entrepreneurial journey. It's a long winded journey with lots and ups and downs, and I thought, why not document it for those who would benefit from this in some way if they are also going to be taking the same journey. I wish more and more entrepreneurs documented their journey, but I know why it's so hard to document, because there is always a scarcity of time. However, the same applies with me. However, I decided that I would like this to be documented. I would like to carve out time to document this, because documenting this is living this experience more deeply. Even for me, I'm doing it also for selfish reasons. I'm expressive in a lot of ways, yes. By documenting this, I'm being more mindful of this journey. I'm living more deeply this journey, and that is what one of my drivers to do this. All right, so today is episode number 4, and I have the topic today is how did I win the opportunity to speak, to moderate a panel in the Europe's largest proptech conference that is happening in London. So I got this opportunity. It was the circumstances that got created that this opportunity landed on my lap, and I wanted to share that with you. But as all my episodes previously, I usually break an episode into 2 parts. The first part is about giving you an update on what's happening with my startup. So that's the first part. And the second part is on the theme, on the topic for that day. So let me start with the update for what happened since I spoke last time. So let's begin with the emotion meter. As I said, this journey is a roller coaster ride. Last week, when I was on the camera, I was really ebullient. I was happy, and my state of mind was at its peak. This time, my state of mind was a little scary. Like I woke up this morning and I felt, and the whole day primarily I was taken over by an element of uncertainty and fear. And fear was on many levels, right? So the product that we are building usually the founder is possessed by an idea, he's biased by an idea, and as a result you feel that you're building the next big thing. And a little life experience has taught me that many a times this bias is often a figment of imagination. So there are frameworks, there are things that you need to do to validate whether or not you are acting out of your own biases or imagination, or there is an actual demand or need or a pain point that is there in the market to be solved. So in spite of doing the due diligence which we did, which I would not say which we did, which we're continuing to do, because this validation is always an ongoing process. In spite of that, I was taken over by this emotion of fear and uncertainties, whether or not people will like it, whether or not people will register into this platform and stuff like that, and whether or not we will get funding. And the reason, I will tell you why the fear came. The fear came because yesterday we got our development partner, okay, and we were discussing with him on the terms and conditions on, okay, how much equity to give, how much cash to give him for at least for a year-long development for the platform, for the product. And that was substantial, okay. And if we go and build the platform, if we hire the developers, we hire this person, we are looking at 1 year of development. And if we do not raise money in the next few months, then it's going to dig a big hole, and it's going to bring me deplete my cash reserves from bank, both me and my founder. So that the fear hit me this morning, because it was last night where we signed off the agreement on how much the 1 year of development effort would cost us. So that's where my mindset is today. And usually whenever I'm scared, and it happens, right? Whenever I'm scared or uncertain of the path that I am on, and it happens many a times, and sometimes multiple times in a day, I often go to my wife and tell her hey, if nothing works out, if I slog like anything for the next 2 years and nothing works out at the end of 2 years, in fact, I've lost money in the end of 2 years, would you still be with me or would you leave me? How would you feel? And I asked this, and she has been massively supportive of me. In fact, I should do another episode of a spousal relationship. That's a whole new game. That's a whole new dynamic on on this, your support of the family on whenever you're taking an uncertain uh, path of entrepreneurship like this. Yeah, so whenever I feel lost, whenever I feel scared, I go to her, and pave the I usually imagine the worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is 2 years of your life you are given to an idea, and at the end of that 2 years, you failed. The idea flopped. You lost money. You spent your own money. You bootstrapped, and you did not raise funding. What are the consequences? What is the opportunity cost? 2 years of earning. So you have lost on 2 years of earning in a corporate job. Mm, you've depleted your own resources, and you have lost 2 years of time. So when you prepare your mind that, okay, this is the worst that I'm willing to pay for, this is the sacrifice I'm willing to do, um, that is where um, that is a good space to be. Okay, you draw your line of your worst case scenario and get support from your close family members, and that is the worst case, right? So the worst might not happen. It could happen somewhere in the middle. But if you draw the worst case scenario, then you are not as fearful. So that is one thing that I do. I talk to my wife to validate, hey, are you okay if this is the worst case after 2 years? And the second one is, uh, me and my co-founder, we write down what are the ways we could fail. Okay, what are the different ways we could fail, and we prioritize it. Okay, so mostly these are prioritization in terms of what are your riskiest assumptions. So you list them down, and then you prioritize them, and then you identify what are the mitigating actions for each of these riskiest assumptions. So you write 5 riskiest assumptions, saying that, okay, nobody will sign up for this because there are other products already available, or people will sign up but they will not engage because they don't have time. So we write and we prioritized in the riskiest in a prioritized manner from high risk to low risk, and then you identify what are the mitigation. How do you mitigate these risks? So these are the two things I resort to. Just wanted to let you know. What's the next thing? Yeah. And the reason is, any startup is an exercise of uncertainty and risk, and that's why you need to measure your risk appetite, what stage of life you are in, and how much risk you can take it. So that is my emotion meter. Let me give you some updates. So on the updates is, as I mentioned, we onboarded our product design, brand, and development partner. Okay, he's quite cool. He's an old acquaintance of mine that I've known him for years. So acquaintance, but a good acquaintance, bordering on friendship. The reason I don't use the term friendship is we have not been in touch, right? So we would be in touch every year or 2 years or something of that sort, and admirably, it has been a good relationship, even though we are not like constantly in touch. That's why I call him acquaintance. But he's younger. He's 9-10 years younger, and I got to meet him a couple of weeks ago. Just like that, I bumped onto him. He has been an entrepreneur all throughout. That means he has built massively successful. So I would not know it until I bumped onto him. So I bumped onto him a couple of weeks ago, and I was massively impressed with all the growth that he has had. And that's why entrepreneurial journey, if you keep at it, if you stick to it, and if you don't give up, then on a timeline of a decade of 10 years, you will have massive growth. And this guy, 9 to 10 years younger, has multiple companies registered. One is registered in UK, one is registered in Dubai, one is registered in Singapore, and he just opened another agency in Bangladesh, a low-cost outsourcing development and design agency. massively successful, and I thought, hey, it would be cool to partner up with him. So I shared my business idea with him, and he was quite cool about it, and he met me and my co-founder just to understand and measure how motivated we are, how driven we are, how much do we believe in our idea. And usually the belief of an idea comes with the belief of the founders. Okay. And I'm very good at it. I mean, it's not about being good or bad at it, whether you believe in your idea or not. Okay, so if I believe, others would definitely believe. So I think that we were able to sell him the idea. So he's joining us. So yesterday was our negotiation round. Okay, so in the negotiation we were negotiating how much would be his compensation, how much would be the compensation of the equity. Okay, what would be a split? Like, for example, he is very expensive when it comes to cash, right? So per week, if we have to pay him, we would be on roads, we would not be able to pay him. So okay, if he has to discount his prices for us, how much of the equity are we willing to offer to him? Okay, so that is something that we agreed yesterday. He was on the higher side of the equity, but given his massive network, given his drive, given his hustle, given his knowledge, skills, I think he would be able to take us, get us up to speed, and that's why we felt he would be a great addition to the team. And we did not bother if the equity percentage is little on the higher side, because eventually once we grow up, all these numbers would be, once we grow big, these numbers would not matter so much then. So something interesting happened yesterday. So while the negotiation was on, usually, he's a friend, and then you were negotiating on the terms. These are often very difficult and tricky situations. So because he is my friend, I did not take an active participation in the negotiation. So I was just a silent observer. My co-founder, he was doing the hard talking. Okay, how much value are you bringing for this? If you're demanding this equity, what's the value like? Okay, what would be your commitment like? What if you ditch us? What if we don't see full steam commitment through the entire 12 months and stuff like that? So that was a nice exercise for me, because I'm somebody who is still learning to have difficult conversations. I chicken out from difficult conversations, like many people, right? But that was a conversation where I had to step in a couple of times, because I felt it's unfair that my co-founder is having those conversations and I'm comfortably sitting quiet on the behest that I am a friend and I should not. There were occasions where I had to step in, but I am still not a hard negotiator, because I usually always tilt or lean on the side of giving away deal terms favorably to the other person. I know I've read a few negotiation books, but reading negotiation books and actually applying them, I'm still struggling. Okay, it's still early days for me. Early days, not in my age. There are people in the late 20s, early 30s who are masters at negotiation. Early days for me, because I've not been on the negotiation table. Like on all my past opportunities, jobs were within corporate setting. You don't do negotiating. You only talk to your stakeholders, negotiate. But this is negotiating. But this is on a different level. This is high stakes. This is putting your own money. This is like, as a founder, this is your own money, and this is also, these negotiations will have a bearing on a future. If everything works great, then if you have not been able to negotiate early on, then you are giving equity, you're distributing equity, just like in charity, right? So you have to be very, very clear. So what happened yesterday was, so I stepped in at a point where I said, hey, I agree to these terms. Okay, you are a friend, I know you, I do not want to get into this haggling mode. I want you to be happy working with us. I do not want you to come in a way that is hard negotiating and haggling and stuff like that. Whatever you ask, I would in fact give you a little more than that. Okay, I stepped in and I just made this statement without realizing that I did not align with my partner, with my co-founder who was also in the call. I made this final statement saying that, hey, I agree with these terms. Let's go for it, and let's pop champagne, and hey, everybody's happy. While that happened during the meeting, after the meeting, a sense of regret dawned onto me. I felt awkward, and my co-founder did not message me. I did not message him at night. I usually, after a meeting with somebody else, we message each other just to see if everything is okay. But it was an awkward non-communication. I slept. I woke up with more regret. I immediately called him and I apologized, saying that even if this was the best deal, even if I felt that the terms were agreeable for me, I should not state it on behalf of both of us without aligning in person. So the ideal thing that should have happened was I should have said, hey, the terms look great. I feel like agreeing, but hey, you know what? Just give us a moment. We would like to sync up and come back to you tomorrow morning. So this would have been an ideal way to manage that conversation, but I took the liberty of saying that, okay, I like the terms, let's seal this. And when you do this, you're doing this at the cost of damaging your relationship with your most important partner, your co-founder. But he was cool about it. In the next day morning, he said, yeah, but I think you took the liberty because he was a friend. I said, hey, no, even if he was a friend, our relationship is more important, right? So as co-founders, so it was all cool. So just wanted to share that little episode that happened this week, which was a learning thing. I promised him never to do that again, either side. So that's how it is. All right. So that was an update on what happened briefly in the last few days. In the next segment, I'm going to be talking to you on how I bagged this enviable opportunity to be moderating a panel in front of 3,000 people. It's the Europe's largest proptech conference that is happening in London in September. I'll be going there. I'll be hosting this panel for 5 CEOs from emerging markets, and I can't wait. While this is happening, I thought I should let you know how did this happen, right? So there are some lessons here which I thought I could draw from the way it happened. So the lesson is on the right kind of hustle. So I'm a hustler, right? I talk to people, I connect people, I add value. But I thought, let me narrate to you how did this happen. Sometimes you cannot design this. Sometimes opportunities just come by, but they don't come by to randomly. You have to create circumstances where luck favors you, right? So I will let you know what are the circumstances that I created where luck favored me. So 6 months ago, I was building PropTech Buzz, which is a YouTube channel for PropTech founders and CEOs. So I started that YouTube channel, and as a result, I was always scouting for PropTech founders and CEOs in my network on LinkedIn. I would randomly approach them and ask them to be on my podcast and stuff like that. And over time, so while I was doing that, I bumped onto this guy, young guy, whose LinkedIn profile read, "Oh, building Europe's largest PropTech conference, proptechconnect.com," and the website did not have much information. I just wrote to him, and his title was CEO PropTech Connect, just 1 month old. Okay, because that's how he has been with PropTech Connect. So it seemed like he has just opened this, and I and my co-founder at that time were thinking of also doing something of that sort, a conference maybe in India for PropTech founders and stuff like that. So I thought, let's learn from him what he's up to, and it will be good because I usually talk to anybody and everybody. So I spoke to him, hey, do you want to connect? And he was cool, and he shared with me, and I told him, hey, do you want to come over my podcast? I would like to promote your upcoming conference on my podcast. Let people know what are you up to and stuff like that. He was very happy with the offer, and he agreed to be on my podcast the next week. And meanwhile, there was this big press release on this event, about the Europe's largest PropTech event that's happening. So he had a big press release that happened that week. Okay, and interestingly, he had raised $1 million already just for this conference. So I'm sure he had his network and stuff like that, because he also comes, yeah, one thing I forgot is he comes from a background of running conferences. That means his previous experience was working in an organization which would pick distressed conferences and turn them around and make them profitable. Such a cool business idea. I never knew such a business idea exists. Such a I never knew such a business exists. So their business, the his experience was, and still young. He must be, I mean, late 20s or something of that sort. So his experience was purely to buy distressed conferences and turn them around, because they know the secret sauce, they know the playbook on how to run profitable conferences. And that's exactly, I think, showing that experience, he raised $1 million and he's doing this. So yeah, so he came to my podcast. I made him feel good. I mean, podcast is an opportunity for me to make people, to put spotlight on people, okay, make them feel good. And I give them a platform, okay. I ask them questions, I treat them well, and it's an opportunity for me to bond for an hour or so, because that it's an hour nobody can take. It's a conversation between them and me. So that went well. So he left with good impression of me, and then he said, "Hey, I'm suspicious of you. I have a feeling that you also want to do a conference." He asked me. I said, "Yeah, we are thinking, but we are not sure." He said, "Oh, if you, what's your idea?" "No, we are thinking of doing a conference in India, maybe." "Oh, India." So see, the thing is, and he was very clear. He was sharp. Okay, he's like young but very very aggressive. He was like, "Hey, my conference is. I want to make it a conference, a global conference. I want to do this all over the world, and definitely I would also want to do it in India. But if you guys want to do it in India, I could help you. I could give you all my resources, my expertise, and you could get started." I said, good, sounds good. Okay, good. And then I was excited. I told my co-founder, "Hey, look at that. Look, this is the offer that we have got, that we could start a conference in India with his backing. Even if we are splitting the equity, that would be great." And we got excited. So I was waiting for his next call to talk about the actual equity terms. And he said, "Okay, great. Do the conference by end of this year, and I take 90%, you take 10%." that was that was like ridiculous. For 10% equity, why would we slog for a year to build a big conference in India? So that was, I mean, the reason I have left my job is to become independent. If he takes 90% of the equity, he becomes my master. Like, I have to follow everything he would have an upper hand. Okay, so I do not have an ego, but 90-10 is like completely outlandish, so we did not even give it the due attention. So yeah, I went to him. I wrote to him, "Hey, this does not work. Hopefully we have better things to do in the future together." But one thing I have learned is never to burn bridges, because I knew he's dynamo. He's so young. He's set to achieve big things. So I would love to be in touch with him. So I stayed in touch with him. I closed the email politely and stuff like that. And not just that, I actually made good connections. I connected him to some really cool and big shots in the industry with him. So I think he appreciated that. Okay, the way I closed the loop, and the way, so it did not impact me, that he gave me a business proposal which I did not like. I was still, and so I still treated him nicely. I actually connected him to nice people. So I think that left a good impression on him. And then after I made the connections, he felt nice to meet to some of those people. So he came back after a while and said, so he kept, so we stayed in touch on LinkedIn, and he observed my activity, the way I do YouTube videos. I have my own podcast. So he just messaged me. He said, "Ravi, can you call me back?" And then I spoke to him. "Hey Ravi, I have an idea. I'm doing this conference, in London. I'm looking for a host. I'm looking for a panelist who can interview these five CEOs from emerging markets. and I don't think anybody can do other than you. I mean, he said the nicest of words to me, and he was very nice to me. And I said, why not? And then I just got excited, and I said I grabbed the opportunity with both hands. Like it's a great opportunity for my company, right, PropTech Buzz, because we got this, we get this stage, we get this pedestal, we get to talk about what we are up to. It's a it's a great PR without paying, right? So all thanks to Matt, who's the CEO of PropTech Connect. Um, and then he gave me, in fact, so I did not stop adding value to him. So he would often say, hey, I'm looking for these 5 panelists. Do you have any connections from emerging markets that you could connect to? And while I was building these connections with my podcast, so my connections were growing, so I was my capacity of connecting people was also growing, so I could make some connections to him and stuff like that. And then he added more value again. It's like reciprocation is the biggest power. Okay, so keep adding value to people, keep helping people, and people are compelled to help you back, because people do not want to be under the weight of somebody's help. Okay, if I help you massively, you would want to pay that back, because that is the power of reciprocation. And so it was going both sides, giving help to each other and adding value to each other. So the reciprocation from his end again was, hey Ravi, I know you're building your own startup. um, we have this session where we will, every startup founder will be able to pitch their startup idea in front of 150 investors. And we charge people, founders, for this session, but you are a friend of mine now, and I want to offer this to you. I said, oh, thank you so much. And then I sent him a book. Okay, so it was like we were competing on who is more generous on both sides. So now our friendship is solidified. Hope it remains that way. Um, and I just wanted to tell you how things transpired, to the story of how I received this opportunity to speak, to become a panelist in Europe's largest PropTech conference. So, what are some of the lessons that I, I myself draw from this? Okay, number one is, if you want to attract cool people in your life, you should be doing cool things too. He is the CEO of Europe's largest PropTech conference. Why would he engage with me? He would engage with me because I am also doing something cool. Maybe not as big as him yet, but I have a podcast channel. I interview some of the best CEOs and founders. um, so he's engaging with me because I am also doing something cool. So that is my first lesson, that if you want to attract cool people, ensure that you are also building something cool. Second, luck is a function of exposing yourself to a wider surface area of opportunities where you add value. It cannot be that you're just exposing to a wider surface area of opportunities and doing nothing. No, expose yourself to wider surface area and add value. Like, I keep talking to random people from PropTech industry. Why? Because I'm exposing myself, I'm increasing my surface area. So when you increase your surface area, you never know, because you cannot plan opportunities. Okay, you cannot design opportunities. They will happen uh, somehow. Okay, so this is how you design serendipity in your life. So I optimize for serendipity, how much I can expose myself to wider and wider opportunities, so that somewhere that I will attract luck. And the third one is plain be nice to people, be genuinely, sincerely nice to people. um, that is something that is very, very important. I mean, you can be insincere and you can flatter people, but that does not work. Insincere flattery is visible. Okay, but be sincere, be helpful, be nice to people. I think things work out really great after that. That's it for episode 4. See you around for episode 5. Bye bye.